this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Blessed Girl Summer Podcast, where we learn to live, love, and cultivate a life of peace and joy. And it's your girl Tisha here hosting. We are just finishing up our self care and soul care season. We have had some really, really great episodes. I have heard your responses to the episodes. And just so excited to be able to share how other people are processing and navigating through life and cultivating spaces where joy and peace can thrive, right? Where they can still thrive in the midst of whatever challenges that they may face. And we kicked off the season with my girl Daniela, and she was just talking about her experience with grief and how she had to learn how to find those spaces of joy. Then we had conversations. There are so many conversations this season, y'all. I can't go through all of them, but some of them that are coming to mind right away. We've definitely talked about the importance of inner beauty as well as outward beauty, how they both have how they're both important, right? One doesn't trump the other. We also had conversations around our health, right? Our holistically, how we are living and the things that we're putting in our body and how we're moving and the rest that we need so desperately to take so that we can reduce our stress load, and just all the different ways that individuals are navigating those spaces. And then we did also, y'all, did also give you guys tips on ways to cultivate those spaces, ways to unwind, right? Ways to practice mindfulness, ways to find that peace, to create peace in your life. And so these episodes have been great. And as I'm reflecting back on them, as I'm thinking about them, I really, really felt like to close off this season, I wanted to talk about self care and soul care from the perspective of self reflection and self awareness, right? And so we've had we've had great conversations around how do we create peace, right? How do we calm the noise? How do we allow ourselves to relax, right? And to unwind. How do we do that? And different guests have shared how they do it. I've shared how I do it. And then the question becomes, so yes, we get into this place where we're relaxing. We get into this place where we have peace and we're able to unwind and just free our minds a little bit. But then what, right? So when I think about it, we want the peace, we want the stillness, we want the calmness, but also we want that to beget clarity, right? We want that so that we are able to function in a more present state, but also a more present state of understanding, right? Clarity of direction. I heard that a lot. Like a lot of people are struggling with identity. Like, who am I now, and how am I getting this clarity as to where I should go, what should be my next steps, and things of that nature. And so it's been it's been clear that although we desire for the peace and the joy and the fulfillment, there is also a level of us or a space of us that need that and want that so that we can clarify and we can have greater understanding of ourselves and of those around us, right? And so wanted to talk about self-reflection because that is something that can help us get on that path. And so funny thing, my gosh, I think it's my 30th. I'm dating myself. My 30th high school reunion was this weekend. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because I'm not in the state that I grew up in, but um, they were posting some pictures of, like, my old classmates and things like that. And so I was scrolling through the pictures, and Facebook is a funny thing. Like, I was looking at pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh, I recognize them. I remember them. Look at their kids. Look at their babies. Like, look at all these different things that you can see on Facebook. And so it got me to thinking. I'm like, well, what people see when they go on my Facebook page? So I decided that I was going to just like scroll through the years of posts that I put on Facebook. And as an observer, I have to say, I do think I probably might have a little bit too much information out there, but nothing bad, but just you can gather a lot. But one of the things that stood out to me was when I used to do Friday reflections. And I would say probably for maybe like a year, I did Friday reflections. And the premises of that was that every Friday I would reflect on my week. And it was a practice and something that I had been doing already, but I just decided to share it with the world, the Facebook community. But what it really was um, me deciding that I wanted to not only live life, but have moments of reflection on what I was experiencing, what was happening. Because so often we are just doing the things, we're doing the stuff, we're living a life, we're just moving and grooving, and we lack awareness. We're not even aware of ourselves. We're not aware of how we behave, how we show up. We're not necessarily aware of what others are doing, and the way in which we're all interacting and how that's impacting all of us. We're just unaware. And I feel like lack of awareness is a great hindrance to growth, right? And so the self-reflection really challenged me to be more present, because I was definitely one of those girls, and I'm still working on it. I'm still work in progress, where I'm like, on to the next thing. What is next? What we got to do? And just not really staying present. And a lot of that you can like overlook a lot of things that have left imprints in your life that you maybe are not acknowledging, you're not paying attention to, but it has still influenced you. And so I wanted to take time every Friday to think back on the week and think about something that stood out to me, something that was impactful, something that, maybe and when I say stood out to me, doesn't necessarily mean it stood out in a good way. It could have been something I was like, ooh, what is this? Right. And it also afforded me the opportunity to think back on like how things made me feel in that moment, in those moments, like acknowledging or identifying feelings of stress or feelings of agitation or feelings of annoyance. Like, so what was going on? But then some aha moments where maybe some things happened and it was like, oh, that was so good to me. Right. Right. That made me, I really enjoyed that. Like, I was surprised, some surprising moments. Right. So I just had an opportunity to reflect. I didn't reflect on all the things in terms of the videos, but for myself, it was good to be able to reflect. And so definitely want to challenge you to take the time and spend some time reflecting. That is really important to self care and soul care, right? Caring for yourself, and caring for yourself enough to not just pass through life, but to embrace and engulf all of the things that life is providing for you. right? Or all of the things that you're experiencing, whether it's the good or the bad, right? And then allowing those experiences to grow you, right? Um, and to help you evolve into the person that you desire to be, right? And so I did a lot of those reflections. I was listening back to them things and I was like, oh my, who is this girl? But what I love about it is that because I took the time to do that, all of those things have made up who I am today. And and sometimes we can be unaware that they have. And if we haven't really taken the time to examine them, we could be taking on some stuff that maybe we shouldn't necessarily take on. So the self-reflection is the first part. And so there's several ways that you can do self-reflection. You can journal, which I like to do. You can journal and you can write down, like, what took place during the week, how did those things take place, and just reflect on the week. And the same thing I said, like those things that stood out to you the most. Or you can also do like an audio reflection. I like doing these too. So they're similar to like podcasts, probably, which is probably why I like doing them. But you can just simply take out your phone, press your recording device or app, and just record. Just start talking about, like, this week, was challenging for me. And one of the things that I feel like was the most challenging was X, Y, and Z. Or if you're like me and you like to talk, you might go through several things, right? Um, but I encourage you to set aside at least 15 minutes a week. And when you're setting aside those 15 minutes, decide on what day you're going to do it. Like for me, Fridays worked because I had a flexible schedule and Fridays was my least busiest day. And I did that intentionally. And so I wanted to use that opportunity to sit back and be like, all right, now I got most of the stuff done. So let me sit back and see what has happened. Like, let me reflect. Is there anything I want to take away from this? Is there anything I don't want to do again? Like, I don't want to repeat. I want to adjust. I want to shift, right? And so um I would recommend putting setting aside at least 15 minutes. Um because 5 minutes, it's going to be real quick. I feel like you're not going to be able to get that present. Um but if you only got 5 minutes, go with the 5 minutes. But I recommend at least 15 minutes, right? Where you can just really reflect. Because what you'll find is you'll start identifying things that maybe you hadn't thought about just because things are so busy, right? Things are so busy. And you'll want to, if you're like me, you'll want to stay in it a little bit longer. So 15 minutes for the self-reflection. Now, let's move into the self-awareness piece. Now, why I think whew, Lord, self awareness is so important. I feel like a lot of us are walk around with a lack of awareness of whether it be awareness of ourselves or awareness of others. And when I say that, what I mean is a lack of awareness of our behaviors and how our behaviors impact others, or how our actions impact different dynamics. And also, sometimes we lack awareness of what others are doing and how their behavior is impacting us. And I am so guilty of that. I was talking to my husband last week, matter of fact, about, just when I was like in my 20s and in my 30s, I was seriously unaware of a lot of things. I lacked a lot of awareness, but that also came from a lot of not reflecting. And I'll tell you how they tie in together. So there would be moments where, like, stuff would happen and I'll be like, I'm just like so unaware. Oh, such and such was cheating on me. Oh, I didn't, that like blindsided me. Or a friend just ghosted me. Now we're not friends anymore. And so like I'm completely blindsided. Like, but because I was just aware, things were happening, unaware. Things were happening all around me, but I was just so removed from it and not really paying attention to those things that I missed all the signs, all the things, and even my role, in that. And so anytime we're thinking about wanting to grow or evolve or to be better for ourselves, it begins with awareness, right? And so reflection can be that path to obtaining that awareness, right? And so for me, for the awareness piece, um, I really so the way awareness so let's say if you're doing the reflections, right? And you're like, my suggestion is just start out with the reflections, right? Especially if it's not something that you normally do, just start out reflecting. You're really, again, like I said, talking about the what happened, what happened? What was the things that took place? And how did they take place? And how did this happen? We're really good at talking about what somebody did, how how they did it, how they was acting, what you're not going to do, like we're really good at all those things. So keep doing those things and you're reflecting. But when you begin to, or you want to challenge yourself to move into the place of more awareness, you want to start asking yourself questions like, why? Why did I do that? Why do I think they did that? But really, and why is what they're doing affecting me? Why is it making me feel this kind of way? And where in my life have I experienced a feeling like this before? Or where in my life have I experienced a situation like this before? And then you can go back into the reflection part, like, well, what happened there? And da 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 da. And then you can, but go back to asking yourself the why and the where else have you experienced those types of things, because that'll help bring awareness to you if maybe there's a behavior that you can see a pattern in that you are doing that is showing up in multiple spaces, or a behavior that someone else is doing that is showing up in multiple spaces, or a behavior just in general, let's say jealousy, right? Jealousy is showing up and you just see jealousy showing up in all these different dynamics, and that is what's making you feel a certain kind of way, right? And so then you can begin to be aware to ask yourself other questions. Why do I keep finding myself in these spaces, right? And so that's where I feel like the growth can really start to happen when you start changing those questions. And so reflections can be a great way to segue into that, because if we're not taking enough time to reflect, then we're not going to, we're going to be unaware. We're just going to be moving through and doing the next thing. And typically, what will happen when we move like that is that something will happen that will force us to have to look at it, to force us to have to examine it. So like, somebody cheats on you. Okay, hold up, like that's a big bomb that was just dropped, right? Or like my other example, somebody ghosts you, all she not talking to you no more, she's mad at, like, well, wait, red flags, like the alarms and everything is sounding and going on, and so then that kind of forces you to examine, right? To look back. But I prefer the other method. I prefer not to be like slammed with an experience that, shakes us. Because when we're in it, as if we're reflecting consistently, we can begin to see, we can kind of begin to address, we can begin to shift. There's so many things that we can begin to do um, for ourselves, right? So this is how it becomes self-care, is you loving yourself. So I'm loving myself enough that I want to understand me. I want to understand how I'm interconnecting or relating with others. I want to understand how my presence during this week, how it showed up. I want to understand what I experienced during this week. And if it was a great experience, I want to understand that and how I can create more of those great experiences, like what I can do. And that really is like the greatest way to love yourself, right? To know yourself. And so knowing yourself, a lot of people like know thyself, know thyself. And like that's the epiphany of it. I don't think that that is it, right? You're knowing yourself so you can have awareness, you can have understanding, but you're also examining that. you're also examining what you have learned of yourself to determine whether this is the way in which you want to show up in this earth, right? And if there are behaviors that you don't like the results of them, and so you want to show up differently, you want to change the dynamics, right? And so just because you know yourself doesn't mean you have to stay that same way or you have to do that same behavior. It's just a great change begins with awareness, right? And so if there's no awareness, then you can't change anything. And so I think it's the one of the greatest ways to provide self-care to yourself is to self-reflect and to increase your level of self-awareness. I believe both of those together equals growth, equals evolution, equals greater joy, greater capacity for things, greater, peace. I think all of that is kind of found in that space. And so, um, yeah, I hope that these episodes have really been helpful in helping you learn how to create the life, the blessed girl summer that you are looking for, and that you're so deserving of. Can I say that? We are deserving of it. We are deserving of it. But like I always say, the only person that's going to create those dynamics for us is us. Like we can't expect other people. Everybody has an individual responsibility to create those things for themselves. And I feel like I'm about to get into a whole nother podcast because sometimes we want stuff more for other people than they want for themselves. And we can't make these things, we can't make joy, we can't make peace, we can't do that for other people. We can play a role, we can participate, but we can't make it for them. And the only person that can position them to be in those spaces to receive those things is them, right? Is them, is you, is me, right? So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this season. We are going into season 2, y'all. Season 2 starts next week. Super excited for that. We are going to be talking about advocacy. We're going to be talking about advocacy. And so I just want to drop a little bit of info about my position on advocacy and what I think about it. So I really feel like, before I used to think like advocacy was, um, I used to think like advocacy was like always had to be like a big movement or like a justice, like social justice, um, or like, like Black Lives Matter. And like, it just had to be like a really big movement with a lot of people behind it, a lot of publicity, a lot of marketing. Like it just has to be a big movement in order to be some type of advocate. And as I'm growing to understand this more, and even in, my work in the mental health space, like advocacy takes so many forms and shapes, and you really at the crux of it is really you desiring to um, be a change for someone who is deserving of it and may not be receiving it. And so your decision to provide something for someone, or to advocate, or um, to stand in the behalf of something that someone is in need of, that you might be in need of, right? And so there are a lot of folks that I know that are doing these things in their everyday lives. For some of them, it shows up as a business. For others, it shows up as ministry. For others, it just shows up as I just wanting to be a change. I just saw a need and I wanted to meet it. I had a need and it wasn't met, and I wanted to meet. I knew that there were other people that had that need, and I wanted to meet it too. It shows up in so many different ways, and so I have some phenomenal guests that are coming on and sharing how they are advocating in their own way and creating spaces for people, right? And I think advocacy lends to going outside of yourself. You're not just doing, even like this podcast could be a space of advocacy, right? Like I'm not just creating peace and joy for myself. I want that to be an experience for other people. So I'm advocating for this, right? On this platform, and I'm helping others pull from the things that I've learned and other people have learned in order to create these dynamics in their life. And so I have some phenomenal guests coming on that are going to be talking about ways that, they're creating safe spaces for people, the ways in which they are creating. I got all kinds of alarms going off during this podcast. Forgive me, y'all. Other ways that people are, creating safe spaces, um, creating spaces for young men who are in need of role models, creating spaces for health and wellness and fun and connectivity and community. And so, super excited to have them on the show, to really just talk about those things. And I hope that my goal is that you're inspired, right? That you're inspired to be an impact to your community, or just within your sphere of influence, and inspiring wellness and wholeness in the lives of others. And so, super excited about that. I will give y'all a sneak peek and let you know my husband will be one of the guests on the show. And so it is not his first time. It's not our first time doing a podcast together. And so that's always fun for those of you who've been with us for a while. Uh, that'll be interesting to see what we end up talking about. But super excited. And so my hope is that, these podcasts are blessing you and helping you walk in the fullness of of who you've been called to be, but I think really be able to embrace a good life. One of the scriptures that I love, it's my favorite scripture, y'all. Psalms 27:13. And it says, I will remain confident of this, that I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. And so, what that means for me is I will experience fullness of joy. I will experience all of his good things. I will experience all those things while I am alive, right? I remain confident of this. I hold on to that. I believe that. I work towards that. That is my portion. That is your portion. And that is like my mantra scripture. And so um, I hope that you believe that too. You know what I mean? For yourself, that you are supposed to experience goodness in this earth, right? That you are supposed to experience goodness. Now, people ain't going to give it to you, right? So, people are not always going to give it to you, I should say. So we do have to be intentional about creating it for ourselves and figuring out what that looks like for ourselves. And so that's what we do here at Blessed Girl Summer Podcast, because we believe that every season, no matter if it's fall, winter, spring, every season can be a Blessed Girl Summer season. So, y'all, until next time, I hope that you are loving our theme song and that you are playing it on a daily, y'all. I wake up to that song in the morning. That's one of my favorite. It sets me in the mood. And for good things, it reminds me that good things are my portion, that joy is my portion, that peace is my portion, that blessings are my portion. And it just gets me in a great mood. And so, my husband, the orchestrator of that song, will be thanking him, I guess, when he comes on the podcast. But I hope that you guys listen to that theme song. I hope you use it as a source of encouragement. Just play. It's like a minute, 30 seconds. Just play it in the morning, and just really be blessed, you guys. Be blessed. And remember to secure your peace, secure your joy, and make every season a Blessed Girl Summer season. I'll talk to y'all later.
Woke up this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems.